Hello traders, the title of the video is 5 secrets about the short-term trend in the financial market one must know. Do you want to know the 5 secrets about the short-term trend in the financial market? Well, we are recording this video today because a YouTuber called Harry has asked a question about short-term trend, medium-term trend, and the long-term trend. This is very important for day traders, swing traders, position traders, and most importantly, the investors in the financial market. All right. So first, I would like to thank that trader for asking an essential question. So I'm going to record a series of videos, and we will be discussing what one needs to know, the secrets about the short-term trend, the medium-term trend, and the long-term trend, and the correlation between the short-term and the medium, and the correlation between the medium-term trend and the long-term trend. If one is using short, medium, and long-term trend, what one need to know, to time the market, more accurately. All right. Let's begin the demonstration talking about the 5 secrets about the short-term trend in the financial market one must know. All right. So first thing first that one need to understand is this very, very important point, is that the short-term trend will form the medium-term trend, and the medium-term trend will form the long-term trend. This is very, very important to understand before we even start talking about the 5 secrets about the short-term trend in the financial market. All right. So short-term trend will form medium-term trend. Medium-term trend will form the long-term trend. All right. Very, very important. Note it down. All right, very, very important point. So if you do not understand that, you cannot use the market trends to time the market more accurately. All right. So the first secret one must know about the short-term trend in the financial market is this: the short-term trend is always relative to a long-term trend. Now, allow me to say this one more time. The short-term trend is always relative to a long-term trend. Now, you have to understand that I choose my word carefully. I did not say that the short-term trend is relative to the long-term trend. I say that it is relative to one specific long-term trend. All right. So, for instance, if I say 1 minute time frame, all right, that 1 minute time frame is, if I say I'm using the 1 minute time frame as a short-term trend, that 1 minute time frame as a short-term trend is specifically relating to a specific, all right, long-term trend. All right. So each long-term trend, has its own short-term trend. Now, so whenever you're talking about a short-term trend, is always in relation to a specific long-term trend. Very, very important. That's the first secret one must know. So we cannot talk about short-term trend of the market. We need to be more specific, all right? So we have to relate that short-term trend to a long-term trend, all right? So one example is that the 10-minute time frame is the short-term trend of the daily chart. All right. So we cannot say, for instance, that the 10-minute time frame is the short-term trend in the financial market. It doesn't make any sense. All right. It has to be connected to a specific long-term trend. All right. Why? That's a very good question. The reason is, for a day trader, all right, the long-term trend for a day trader, in theory, is the daily chart. All right, the daily chart is the long-term trend for a day trader. All right. The swing trade for a swing trader, the long-term trend can be either the weekly chart or the monthly chart. So whenever we are talking about a short-term trend, it is relating to a specific, a long-term trend. Each long-term trend has its own short-term trend. All right. So you want to know which short-term trend you are using. All right. Okay, that's the first secret. The second secret that I want to share with you today, we're talking about the secret about the short-term trend, in the financial market. One must know. The second one is that the short-term trend form the medium-term trend. As I told you at the beginning of this tutorial, the short-term trend form the medium-term trend of a specific long-term trend. Are you getting confused? So we have it like this. So look at it. So we have the long-term trend, then we have the medium-term trend, all right, and then we have the short-term trend. Yes or no? Now that short-term trend is forming the medium-term trend of that specific long-term trend. Well, that's the second secret. So the short-term trends form the medium-term trend of a specific long-term trend. All right. So in fact, we cannot talk about a short-term trend without talking about medium-term trend and a long-term trend. So the short-term trend, in plural, the short-term trends are forming the medium-term trend of a specific long-term trend. So one example here is that if we are talking about a daily chart for a day trader, the long-term trend is the daily chart, all right? So but the medium-term trend for the daily chart is the hourly time frame. All right? It's the hourly time frame. But the short-term trend, which is the 10-minute time frame for the daily chart, will be forming, all right, the hourly time frame trend. So the 10-minute time frame, which is the short-term trend of the daily chart, will be forming the trend of the hourly time frame. That's the second thing one must know about the short-term trend. The third secret one must know about the short-term trend in the financial market is this: a short-term trend can fail to form a medium-term trend. Allow me to say this one more time. The third secret is that a short-term trend can fail to form a medium-term trend. So, because we say that the short-term trend is forming the medium-term trend, it does not mean that because the short-term trend is starting, definitely it will complete to form that medium-term trend. That short-term trend can fail to form that medium-term trend, which means the short-term trend is starting, we see it, all right? We know that the medium-term trend is bullish, but as the short-term trend is starting, it could not complete to form that medium-term trend. So a short-term trend can fail to form the medium-term trend. Very, very important. So because if you start using the short term, that's why we say to trader, use a different time frame trading method. Don't go to the 5-minute time frame alone. Don't go to the 50-minute time frame alone, doing your own thing, because this is about a short-term trend of a specific medium-term trend, and those short-term trend can fail to form the medium-term trend. Talking about the fourth secret one must know about the short-term trend is that one can use the short-term trend to forecast both the medium and long-term trend. Allow me to say this one more time. A professional trader or a technical trader can use the structure of the short-term trend to forecast the medium, both the medium and the long-term trend. Now, traders who understand what we call the predictive fractal pattern know that we can use a predictive fractal pattern even on a 5-minute time frame to forecast what is likely to take place on a daily chart or even on the weekly chart. So if we know the specific structure of the short-term trend, we can use that to forecast the structure of the medium and the long-term trend. Sometimes it is not easy to do that. Sometimes you may not be able to do it, but it is possible. Very important. I'm choosing my word carefully. It is possible, all right, to use the structure of the short-term trend to forecast both the medium and the long-term trend. This is about advanced trading using the predictive fractal pattern. Now, you have to understand that anytime I'm talking about fractal pattern, I'm not talking about candlestick fractal or price action fractal. I'm talking about a predictive fractal pattern that I've been talking about at Day Pro Traders, YouTube, dayprotraders.com. dayprotrader.com. Check out a fractal pattern. That's where I'm talking about predictive fractal pattern. Do not think of the normal fractal pattern, all right? The fifth secret one must know about the fractal pattern is this, that one can time the financial market, let's begin. The fifth secret is this, to time the financial market, for technical trading purposes, one can buy or sell, when the short-term trend align with the medium-term trend, all right, after a pullback or a rally, in a medium-term trend. Now, I need to explain that more, yes or no? So let me say it one more time. To time the financial market for technical trading purposes, one can buy or sell when the short-term trend align with the medium-term trend after a pullback or a rally of that medium-term trend. So you see here, so you see on the this is the daily chart. So whenever you see the price trending, you'll be in a rising channel. But if the price is in a rising channel, you see the arrow, the red arrow here is telling us that the long for a day trader using the daily chart as a long-term trend. The daily chart here is going up, displaying higher lows, higher high. So the arrow is representing the long-term trend, which means the long-term trend is bullish, it's going up. That's the red arrow there. Now, the medium-term trend is forming the long-term trend. So you see the line that I draw on my chart here, the blue lines, those are the medium-term trend relating to the daily chart. What is the medium-term trend for a daily chart is the hourly time frame, all right? So we can time the financial market when the short-term trend is aligning with the medium-term trend after a pullback. So here we have, you see, so the long-term trend is what? Is bullish, all right? Okay? Now, we know that up these blue lines represent the medium-term trend that are forming the long-term trend, okay? So, but we also understand already that the short-term trend is forming, the medium-term trend. But in order to time the financial market more accurately, we can buy when, all right, there is a pullback on the medium-term trend. So this is a pullback for the medium-term trend. This is again a pullback because the trend is up. Those are contra trend. So anytime we see medium-term pullback, all right, to the edge of the channel like this, all right, we wait for the short-term trend to align with the medium-term trend. Because, in fact, here we are. If we are saying, pay attention carefully. I need to dwell on this one a little bit. I'm going to put a bit of color into it. Which color? I use orange, all right. Pay attention carefully to what we are talking about here. maybe I will have to use some area wave terms. Okay, pay attention careful because it's very, very important. You see now. So what I was saying to you is that you see all these lines ups and down are forming the long-term trend, which is the daily chart going up. The daily chart is the red line here. Okay, so now the part of the data, you see the orange lines, okay, represent the force, so to speak, the force of that medium-term trend that is forming the long-term trend. But the blue section here and this one, those are pullback, those are contra trend. All right. So the positive force of that medium-term trend that is forming the long-term trend is the orange section here. You see this move up, that's the medium-term trend. It's a positive force in the direction of the trend. So in order to time the financial market accurately, we will wait for the medium-term trend to pull back. And as the medium-term trend is about to align with the long-term trend, if the short-term trend is aligning with the medium-term trend after a pullback, we can buy in an uptrend. Similarly, if we are in a downtrend, all right, so we are in a downtrend. If you are in a downtrend, and so in the downtrend, you will see that those are the medium-term trend that are forming, the long-term trend. I will be recording more video about the medium-term trend, so I'm starting first with the short-term trend. So if you think that I should talk more about the medium-term trend, just be patient. I will be talking about it, and I will be talking also about the long-term trend. So now we are talking about the short-term trend, the 5 secrets one must know about the short-term trend. So now, when we have a pullback of that medium-term trend, which is this one here, and also here, and also here, if the short-term trend after a pullback is aligning with the medium-term trend, talking about the positive force of the medium-term trend, which is the orange line. So at this point in time, after that pullback here, at the time where the medium-term trend is about to align with the long-term trend, if the short-term trend is also aligning with that medium-term trend, we can buy. This is about timing the market accurately. In the downtrend, we'll do exactly the same thing. Price is going down, yes or no, all right? So after a rally in a downtrend, this is a contra trend. So the positive force, so to speak, of the medium-term trend in a downtrend, I'm going to color them here into orange. So those are the positive force of the medium-term trend that are forming the long-term, a downtrend, And again here, we can draw the arrow like this that represents the long-term trend, all right? So that's the long-term trend is going down. The positive force of the medium-term trend is the orange line here. So if we want to time the market using the short-term trend, we wait for a rally in a downtrend on the edge of the channel, and at the time when the short-term trend is aligning with the positive force of the medium-term trend, we can sell. So those are the 5 secrets one must know about the short-term trend in the financial market. So what I would recommend to traders to do, because this is a bit of a theory, and I'm showing you also a bit on the chart, try to digest it, so to speak, Just pay attention to everything that I've said in this tutorial. It may not make any sense to you now, but go over it, for some time, all right, which means you stop. So what I'm saying, we have 5 secrets. So when you are at the first secret, all right, stop there. So the first secret is what? The short-term trend is always relative to a long-term trend. So you stop there. The reason why you need to stop is that you try to understand clearly what I meant by the short-term trend is always relative to a long-term trend. And once you understand it, you move on to the next secret. All right? Don't go to the third or the fourth secret. Go from the first. You must first master the first secret before going to the second. All right? This will help you to understand what we are talking about here. And also go over different charts and try to see whether what we are talking about here makes sense or not. All right, so the first secret, one more time, is that the short-term trend is always relative to a long-term trend. So for an investor, for instance, all right, for an investor using the yearly chart as a long-term trend, the short-term trend for an investor using a yearly chart as a long-term trend is the daily chart. That's the short-term trend for an investor that is using the yearly chart as a long-term trend. So always, whenever you use the word short-term, is specifically relating to a long-term trend. That's the first secret. The second one that I was telling you is that the short-term trends form the medium-term trend. So whenever you draw a channel, all right, like this, know that the segment of the price action within that channel represents, the medium-term trend. So if I go, so this is the daily chart, so all the orange and the blue line within the channel are forming, those are the medium-term trends. So medium-term trend was bearish here, medium-term trend is bullish here, medium-term trend is going up here. But you have to understand that this is the positive force of the medium-term trend because it's aligning with the long-term trend. So now if you go to the weekly chart for swing traders on the weekly chart, I will use another stock for that demonstration. So now we are on a weekly chart. Here we are. So if we draw a channel like this on a weekly chart, and somebody, a swing trader, is using a weekly chart as a long-term trend, all right, for that weekly chart, all right, the segment of the price, so here it is, positive force of a medium-term trend. This is a negative force of a medium-term trend because it's a contra trend. This is a positive force of a medium-term trend, and this is a negative force, if you allowed me to say that, of a medium-term trend, and this is also a positive. Oops, let me remove that. And this is again a positive force. It's a bit messy here. It went up very fast. Positive force of medium-term trend. All right, negative force. So you get it now. All right. So those are the medium-term trend that are forming the long-term trend, but the short-term. So now this section here is also, you can see this section that we are calling medium-term trend is also subdivided into short-term trend. So the short-term trend are forming the medium-term trend. All right, that's it. All right, short-term trend is forming the medium-term trend. So all the segment in this section, blah, 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 down, those are short-term trend that are forming the medium-term trend. All the move ups and down, ups and down. So for a weekly chart, all right, the short-term trend for the weekly chart is the 15-minute time frame. All right. And the medium-term trend for the weekly chart is either 2-hour time frame or 4-hour time frame. So the second secret is that the short-term trends form the medium-term trend of a specific long-term trend. So there is no medium-term trend by itself. This is why I don't want to dwell on that now because I'll be talking about it later. Each medium-term trend is relating to a long-term trend. All right? All right? Are you getting it now? Okay. The third secret is that a short-term trend can fail to form a medium-term trend. All right. So because the short-term trend is the beginning of the trend, all right, the origin of the trend, as it's trying to form the medium-term trend, it can fail on the way. All right, it can fail. Okay, so a short-term trend can fail to form a medium-term trend. All right. The fourth secret one must know about the short-term trend is that one can use the structure or the short-term trend, predictive fractals, to predict both the medium and the long-term trend. So we can use this structure. That's a trader who understands the ADR wave, for instance, all right? We can use the structure of the first wave to forecast the multi-wave, all right? We can, if for instance you want the 10-minute time frame, which is the short-term trend for the daily chart, the structure of the price action on the 10-minute time frame, we can use that, talking about predictive fractal pattern, we can use that structure to forecast what is likely to take place on the hourly time frame and even on the daily chart. All right, this is more advanced trading using predictive fractal pattern, but the point, just understand that one can use the short-term trend to forecast both medium and long-term trend. The last secret one must know about the short-term trend in the financial market is that to time the financial market for technical trading purposes, one can buy or sell when the short-term trend aligns with the medium-term trend, after a pullback. I dwell on that already, so I will not repeat myself. I show you already on the chart how this is taking place. So those are the 5 secrets one must know about the short-term trend in the financial market. So first thing first, whenever you hear the way somebody talking about short-term trend, ask the person that short-term trend is related to which long-term trend. So a position trader may tell you now that their short-term trend is a 3-hour time frame. All right. So if a position trader is using a quarterly time frame, for the quarterly time frame, all right, the corresponding medium-term trend is what? The 3-day chart. We can also use weekly chart as a medium-term trend for the quarterly chart. So for that position trader using apology trader correction, for a position trader, the short-term trend is either the 2-hour time frame, the 2-hour time frame, or or the 3-hour time frame. Okay. In fact, what is happening is that a position trader that is using quarterly time frame as a long-term trend will use either 3-day chart or weekly chart as a medium-term trend. So quarterly chart, long-term trend for position trader. He or she can use either 3-day chart or weekly chart as a medium-term trend. So for that position trader, the short-term trend is what? Is either 3-hour time frame or even 2-hour time frame or even 4-hour time frame. Why? The reason is if they are using the weekly chart as a medium-term trend instead of a 3-day chart, they can either use the 2-hour time frame or the 4-hour time frame as a short-term trend. So we can say for a position trader, the 3-hour time frame or the 4-hour time frame or the 2-hour time frame represent their short-term trend. So we always enter the trade on the short-term trend when the short-term trend is aligning with the medium-term trend of that corresponding long-term trend. I will stop here because we will be recording another video when I will be talking about the secret of the medium-term trend. So don't worry, all right? If you have any question or suggestion, feel free to put in the comment section, and in due course, I will be recording another video to answer your specific question. I would like to thank that trader one more time because he has had this question for some time, and today he reminded me, say, George, when are you going to talk about it? Here we are. I'll start talking about it, and I will be talking about the secret of the medium-term trend in the financial market. And in another video, I will be talking about the secret of the long-term trend in the financial market, and also the correlation, between the short, the medium, and the long-term trend. All right. So this is bringing us to the subject. Apart from the trend, short-term, medium, and trend, we will be talking also about cycle. Okay, what is a cycle? What is the difference between a financial market cycle? What is the difference between a financial market trend? All right. So if you have any question or suggestion, put in the comment section, and in due course, I will be recording another video to answer your specific question. If you find this video truly useful, let us know by giving us the thumbs up. If you think that, Joe, you have not done a good job today, let us know by giving us the thumbs down, and that will put us under pressure to work harder for you. If you think this is an essential tutorial that all traders must know about, feel free to share it with your friend on Google+, on Twitter, and also on Facebook. Until the next time, enjoy yourself and be very happy. We are the TSTW24 traders talking about 5 secrets about the short-term trend in the financial market one must know. Happy trading to you all, and speak to you soon.